Hi, this is Rich Gonzalez, editor from PrepCal Track. In collaboration with HD Runners, we are giving you the preview of the 2025 CIF State Track and Field season. California boys sprint action could be historic this spring. Part of the reason why, first off, Brandon Arrington Jr. He's the defending state champion at 100 and 200 meters, and he appears to be in the early going in off-season, the Winter Championships. Even better this year, where he could threaten Michael Norman's, the Olympian Michael Norman's 200-meter state record. He could also take down Roderick Pleasant's 100-meter state record. Arrington is genetically abnormal in a very good way, in a sense almost freakish. He actually, as he grows into his body, it's scary to think what his upside in the short term might be, let alone in the long term. That being said, there is some question mark or some concern in the off season. I was hearing through the grapevine from very good sources in San Diego that he might not even run outdoor track and field because of some, shall we say, interference related off the track in terms of other sports and focus and such. He assured me a few weeks ago that no, he is all focused and bought in for track and field, which is very good news to hear. Along the same lines, Demare DeZern, the sophomore out of Alamany High School in the southern section, he too had an outstanding freshman year last year. Same thing, a football school, and I was hearing the fact that the football program wanted him to do on the gridiron stuff year round, which would of course would affect what he does on the track. In fact, during postseason last year, his time was more limited in track practice because the football program wanted him to spend more time in football, and we didn't see him quite as sharp at the end of the season as we saw him through the regular season. So hopefully his focus is all back this year. That remains to be seen. Jalen Ford out of Bakersfield, we saw him rewrite record books in the central section. He is also back. Also, Devin Bragg out of Los Alamitos. 3 years ago, he set the California freshman state record in the sprints in the 100. 2 years ago, as a sophomore, broke the state sophomore class record. Then he's had some issue with injury, has some issue also, a good footballer, again, a split of attention. Football has been a bit of a challenge for the top sprinters in recent years in California in terms of that focus. So hopefully we can get all of the top talent buying in. There's another individual, Deshawnee Rideau from Oaks Christian, same thing. Excellent track talent, being pulled into football and away from the sport. Benjamin Harris, we saw him, he was electric last year at Long Beach Poly. He's going to be wearing a different uniform this spring. He is going to be competing for Servite in Orange County. And Servite also welcomes in a couple of very fast freshman boys. That could be the new fast rising power, not only in Orange County, but in Southern California and maybe even the state. But if we get all the top people on the track, it could be a historic year for California sprinting on the boys' side. Next up, the boys' distances in California. 800 meters, 1600 meters, 3200 meters. And the discussion has to start with Evan Noonan, the senior out of Dana Hills High School, who will be going on to Stanford University. Evan, of course, won the California State Championship again in cross country Division III, and he's going for a repeat at 3200 meters on the track. He is quite a talent, had a bit of an issue early in the season in cross country, rebounded with a vengeance, and was a first team NXN All-American over the course, over the trails. He is even better on the track. So it'll be interesting to see if he can improve by how much over his 8:45 for 3200 last year. And keep in mind, right now across the nation, the distances, we are seeing records going down, school records, but more importantly, state records and national records going down left and right. Part of it, shoe technology. There are some amazing shoes being rolled out. And we also have kids that are more getting into this whole bicarb phenomenon. It's been around for years, but it's catching a bit of a wave right now in terms of coping with training. But that combined with great competition, great facilities, and kids that are more committed than ever, you put that all together and we're seeing the potential for some great performances. Now, who can go ahead and challenge Evan Noonan? A couple of key ones. First off, Ian Turk out of Woodcrest Christian, a tiny Division V school in cross country. He had huge breakthroughs this past fall, so now I'm really excited to see what he can do on the track, if he can carry that same level of pop, of breakthrough on the oval. Other ones to watch, Griffin Cushion out of Tesoro. I think even though he had a good cross-country season, he's an untapped talent. I think he's got a lot of good upside, both as a senior this year and beyond in college. A lot of great talents, Carson Headland out of Pioneer in San Jose, Central Coast section. He missed the entire cross-country season because of injury, because of foot injury. He's one that went 407 in the past on the track. He's one that could threaten for the state title. We'll see if Evan Noonan tries to double 16 and 32. And if so, one of the guys that could make them pay, Landon Petrie out of Menlo School, also in the Central Coast section, Silicon Valley. He last year went 8:48 for 3,200 meters. We've seen him over the last 2 years have some tremendous performances. One thing to know, there's been a coaching change at Menlo. George Chan is no longer involved in the program. We'll see how that impacts Landon's excellent progress up to this point. Max Zavaleta out of ML King in Riverside. He is one who, like Evan Noonan, is I think a little bit better on the track than he is in cross country. One of those to also watch, Cooper Castleberry out of the San Diego section, Poway High School. He's just one of a number of individuals that are thinking of beginning to scratch the surface as far as going from very good to being elite in California and beyond. We're in a different era right now for distance running. There are a lot more high quality individuals across state in California. You're going to see a lot of names that you probably haven't seen in the past that are going to move to the forefront. Over in the two-lap distance, the 800 meters, Alden Morales out of J. Sarah High School in Orange County. Last year, he opened eyes big time early on, running 149 in the 800, which is a very rare time in California, especially early in the season. Unfortunately, he caught injury, missed most of the rest of the way. Hopefully this year, he also missed a lot of cross-country season before coming back from the injury late. We're hoping that this year, outdoors, he can be injury-free. He's already dropped some nice times in the early going, in the off-season, in all-comers competition, and also in indoor competition. So he's definitely one to watch. So don't be surprised, given the talent and given all the variables we've mentioned, that the record books could be rewritten in California this season. Switching over to the girls' sprints, the theme could be very much a comeback for two of the state's top stars. Ellie McCuskey-Hay out of St. Ignatius in the Central Coast section, and Joelle Trepanier out of Culver City in the Southern section. Trepanier and McCuskey-Hay came off of, for them, a bit of a subpar year last year after being spectacular 2 years ago. In the case of Trepanier, it was injury, but we're already seeing signs. Ellie McCuskey-Hay, she was excellent at the Winter Championships recently, and Trepanier, from all we're hearing, should be set for an outstanding year over at Culver City, which has become a new power in the sprints on both sides, boys and girls, the last couple of seasons. In addition to that, Madison Mosby, also of St. Mary's of Inglewood in the Southern section. So those are some of the big names to look at for this year on the sprint scene. In California, the girls' distances will be magical. There is so much talent on board. We've been great in recent years. This might be the all-timer. And the scary part, the biggest name, she's not going to even be in the picture on the high school scene. That's Sadie Engelhardt out of Ventura High School. She's made the decision to forego her senior high school season, focus more on open/pro competition, and pretty much that's where she needs to be. She is so far advanced at this level, really can't question that decision. But even with Sadie's absence, California is so stacked. Give you an idea on some of the names on this super deep list. Rylee Blade out of Santiago, and Braylon Combe, her teammate. Those two individual qualifiers for NXN this past year. We saw Rylee. It seems like the longer the distance, the stronger she was against the field. Over at 5K, of course, we saw that incredible all-time performance at Woodbridge, over 3 miles in cross country. We saw Braylon Combe come into her own in postseason this past cross country season as well. But shifting gears from there, in the Rio Hondo League from the Southern section, the two longtime nemesis, Abby Arrington out of South Pasadena, she led her team to the California State Division III title this year in cross country. Maya DeBrouwer out of La Cañada, she also is a a veteran talent, bit more of a BMX biking background. She had a bit of a medical issue that happened that reared her head at CIF finals in cross country, so she didn't appear at the California State meet. This is a big talent who's also very well focused. Holly Barker, we saw her rebound very, very nicely this year at Chabuca Hills High School, led the Mustangs to a magical team cross country season. Jalen Williams, she was lights out last year in the San Diego section. She took a different approach in scheduling in cross country this year. She had a bit of an issue down the stretch. She kind of rebounded and closed nicely in the Foot Locker series, but she is also one to be proven to be a national age group talent that will be in the mix as well. Summer Wilson, now she's transferred over to Irvine High School, previously at J. Sarah. She is one to watch. Kiara Daly out of La Jolla High School, another talent from the San Diego section. She's been a longtime veteran of the distance wars. She is coming back. Things did not go well in terms of she had sickness going into Foot Locker West Regionals and also Nationals. So she's definitely wanting to go ahead and get back into top form this spring. Also, Hannah Thompson out of Montgomery, the North Coast section, a three-time California State champion in cross country, and she is one to go ahead and come back to try and show well. Other big names also on the scene, McKenna Herbst. She is one that is amazing at the shorter distances, at the 800. She should be the one to beat in the state of California this year. She is out of the San Diego section, out of Carlsbad. She will be a tough one to watch. We already saw her break 1:30 for 600 meters indoors in track. That is a phenomenal time foretelling what we might see down the road. So again, girls distances is just totally loaded. It's going to be great to see how it all plays out and if any surprises emerge. Now switching over to the field events, pretty exciting news. For the first time since COVID, we're seeing field events in terms of level of excellence all the way back. In fact, since 2019, we've seen a regression in the field events, which are more technique-based because, again, equipment was closed down during COVID. California was one of those states that was more locked down during the pandemic. It took a while, and a lot of those technique-based events, kids fell behind, and we were not seeing the depth of performance that we usually would in California. We've seen an improvement year to year, but finally in 2025, it appears we are all the way back. So there you have it. Once again, California looks stacked across all event areas. Make sure you follow HD Runners and PrepCal Track as we follow the action this year, where California once again looks to lead the nation in track and field.